Lucid Nightmares, Chapter 2, In Comatose. Warning: anyone with thalassophobia, I would suggest leaving right now. This is your only warning. Luke's eyes fluttered open, refocusing on the environment around him. It took less than a second before he jumped up onto his feet, realizing what just happened. He fell asleep? How could he let that happen? But to his surprise, he was still in his living room. Suspicious, Luke looked around the room for oddities to indicate that it was in a nightmare. But everything seemed fine. The AC was still on, and so were the lights. The only anomaly was the TV. He can't remember exactly what happened before he fell asleep, but given his usual routine, the TV should have been on. Luke decided to put it aside and stayed wary, not convinced he wasn't asleep. Investigating further, Luke walked up to a window on one end of the living room. The moon shone beautifully through the blinds as darkness eclipsed the streets. All in all, normal. Luke couldn't find a single anomaly in the living room except the TV. It was actually surprising, but he wouldn't let his guard down easy. It was so boring and normal that his eyes drifted to the kitchen. Peering in, he knew it was a stupid idea to go exploring the house further. But to his defense, he already tried the standing still strategy. It failed. If that damned voice wanted to toy with him now, she already would have. So standing still became less of an option, and he moved forward. Similar to the living room, the kitchen seemed to be the exact same as when he left it. He thinks. Memory is still a little off, but this is how he usually leaves it. Neat, clean, and as tidy as you can when your body refuses to stay awake for more than 10 minutes. This feeling was reassured when he saw a wooden cuckoo clock that his dad built years ago, still on the wall next to the fridge. Normally, these nightmares forget to add it, alongside a few other anomalous things. But that begged a question from him. Why? Why hasn't the voice spoke or took action towards him yet? Why has it took the time to remember things it would normally forget without a care? Was it trying to make him feel safe? Also, it could get the jump on him? Luke refused to believe that he got a good night of sleep, even if short, after all the pain and fear he felt for the past month. No way in hell. Luke, now even more wary, left the kitchen to the hallway between it and the living room, prepared for almost anything. The house has two floors. Downstairs, where he was, housing the kitchen, living room, closets alongside a bathroom, and the same hallway as a flight of stairs against the wall, that also goes to the upstairs. The second floor only held two bedrooms, his and his parents', a guest bedroom, and lastly, a second bathroom. Given there was nothing in the hallway itself, or at least not worth exploring, and he wouldn't dare trying to go back to sleep, it was upstairs he marched. Now that he thought about it, right now, his body is even an anomaly. He had more energy in him than the past week combined. The only time this happens is when he's asleep and in a dream or a nightmare. I mean, if he really did get a good night's sleep, it's possible he just recovered his lost strength. But to him, it was unlikely. None of that stopped him, of course, so he once again marched forward. Up the flight of stairs, Luke walked across the wall and the doors on them. That was until he came across one that stuck out. It was a door boarded to the brim with "Do Not Enter" signs. His room. Anytime he had a nightmare that took place in this house, he'd find himself here. And anytime he entered, what was bad always turned worse. It was to the point he decided to put these signs on the door in the real world just so he wouldn't run in on accident when asleep. Because for some reason, she always decided to remember adding them. But dream or not, Luke now feared that room. So he just stared at the signs. Some of written on paper, others store-bought. And eventually he decided it was now time to move on. As soon as he turned his head, he spotted something. On one of the few drawer-like stands that rested against the walls was a picture in a frame, and it was close to his parents' bedroom door. He walked up to the picture and picked it up for examination. It it was a picture of his parents, but their faces were smeared by some smudge on the outside of a plastic casing within the frame. Just his luck. He tried to wipe away the smudge, but it only got worse as he did so. So he stopped. He began questioning, has this picture always been here? He's rarely up here when he's awake, but he couldn't have been so tired in the past month that he forgot this, right? He stared and stared at the image. This was the closest he's come to remembering his parents' faces, and the most comfort he's felt all month. The feeling was so much that he brought the picture to his chest, hugging and squeezing it. Mother, father, I miss you so much. Where are you? Luke asked, almost crying to himself. He didn't want to let go. It was just a picture, one that seemed years old at that, but it still felt comforting, so he kept embracing it. He embraced and embraced, letting his heart feel the warmth of memory. He embraced it, and he could almost feel them embrace back. Luke looked down at the picture to his chest, and the arms of flesh and purple blood scattered about it emerged from the back of the picture, embracing him back, causing him to throw the picture away from him as he fell to the floor. A second before the inevitable crash, Luke saw the image once more. The image was now of a black, smoke-like entity with a sinister slit-mouth smile, of a glowing lavender, and beady eyes the same shade, covering the image of his mother entirely. His father's face was still smudged, but his body and hair was withering with age. His gray hair spawned and his body wrinkled. This was all before the picture slammed into the wall, shattering into millions of pieces. She just. She didn't just. What the hell? 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 Oh, dear Luke, did you really think I would leave you alone like that? A voice of dread rang in his ear as he sat there shocked at what just happened. From the looks of things, I got you well with this plan, but it seemed to have left you frozen a bit. Oh, I know how to thaw that statue of yours. Luke felt the legs of his pants getting wet as her words spoke. Finally, looking down from the wall, he spotted water rushing from under all the doors on this floor. By letting you drown in all that sorrow and fear you have built up, a voice said in a oh so slightly sadistic manner. Luke scrambled to his feet, rushing for the stairs, water gushing out from even his door. Luke, cautious but quickly, ran down the stairs, grabbing for the front door. He tried and tried and tried, but the door just wouldn't budge. Damn it, let me out! Expressed, now anxiety driven as water rushed down the stairs. He pulled back, ramming into the door, then again and again, but it was no use. Water now up to his knees, Luke ran into the living room. He quickly reached to open the window, but it was stuck. Water now over his waist, he was forced to improvise. He grabbed a lamp that was sitting upon a stand, knowing very well he can't grab the stand, and swung it like a bat at the window. Unlike most would believe, it shattered on impact, leaving the window perfectly intact, not the lamp. The window was up to his shoulders now. The only course of action left was to head back for the stairs, where the water hasn't even built yet. Luke rushed once more to the stairs, but his body submerged, he moved too slow. He eventually was completely submerged in the water. He held his breath, trying to swim to the stairs, but he didn't know how, so he hardly moved in the water. It was inevitable. He could no longer hold on, and breath in which he held, released. Water started rushing into his nose, mouth, and anywhere his body would let him. He could feel it, sorrow and dread as his body began with the pain. It burnt. It burnt. He could feel every bit of his body burning, feeling as though it was aflame. Please, please stop this. Luke. For just a moment, he forgot about the burning sensation in his body. Was that who he thought it was? Luke. It was. His mother was calling his name. Luke. A glowing white light shone above him. No other part of the house was even visible under the water anymore. Just the bright light shining through. Luke. Luke kicked with every fiber in his being. Also, he could reach his mother's cries. Luke. Her voice. It was sad. She's crying. Why is she crying? You're flying too close to the sun, darling. A previous voice spoke, but Luke ignored her. He had one goal in mind. Luke, almost there. Please wait a little longer. He's almost there. Luke, please, wake up. Luke's body shot forward, causing him heavy dizziness from the unready rush. He was on the couch, within the cold living room, empty of water, but full of sound from the TV. He slowly looked out the window. Barely a light emanated from it. If he had to guess, it was 5 in the morning. What the hell? Luke grabbed a blanket from the couch, curled up, and stared, wide awake, at the TV. What the hell?